What's up guys, it's Brad from Let Architect here. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a quick tip on how you can render out your smoke and fire simulations in Blender with the Eevee real-time rendering engine. To be fair, this isn't really real-time as volumetrics can take a little bit longer to render inside of Blender. However, it's much faster than rendering in cycles and you can still get some fairly good results in a much faster period of time. Of course, rendering out your volumetrics in cycles is going to be much more realistic and your light is going to bounce around the volumetrics in a much more realistic fashion, so I generally recommend rendering out in cycles for the most realism. Eevee can still look really awesome, as you can see from the simulation at the beginning of this video. Anyways guys, let's get started inside of Blender. This is the simulation we are going to be working with. This is the exact result from our recently uploaded flamethrower tutorial utilizing the KHAOS add-on and fire shader, so be sure to check that out if you're interested in creating this flamethrower look. Alright, so obviously the first thing you're going to want to do to render out your volumetrics in Eevee is make sure that you're switched to the Eevee rendering engine here, so make sure that you're switched over there. I usually leave my sampling at their defaults at 64, but you can increase this for a little bit more sampling detail. You're also going to want to make sure that you have some fairly powerful lights in your scene. I found that using sun lamps tends to be a lot better than using the area lights, as it just tends to let out the smoke a little bit better. So I've just added 2 sun lamps to our scene to give the simulation some shape. I think their value is at strength of 4 each, so I just kind of have a front light and then a back light, and then we just kept the color at white, and then we've also added a basic sky texture as well for some ambient lighting. That's pretty important when you're trying to get a nice looking result inside of Eevee as well as cycles, but especially inside of Eevee since the lighting is a lot more simplified. It's important to have those lights in your scene. Alright, so one of the things you might notice when you go to rendering mode inside of Eevee at first is the default settings create this kind of blurry look that isn't really showing off the detail of your simulation. So the main thing you want to do is go to the rendering properties tab here, and under volumetrics you'll just change the tile size to 2. And as you can see here now, you can definitely start seeing a lot more detail in the fire simulation itself, and you're taking advantage of the high resolution in that simulation. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your volumetric lighting checkbox is selected. Without this, your lamps won't be lighting up the smoke very well, so let's go ahead and check this and make sure it's on. And finally, for some more shading realism, you're going to want to check the volumetric shadows. And as you can see here from my computer, it's slowing down the render of the simulation quite a bit in the viewport, but as long as you're not doing anything technically real time and you're going to render this out, I definitely think it's worth it to use these volumetric shadows, as you're getting a lot of the shadow detail in the smoke itself, and it's just going to get a much better result. You can also play around with the shadow samples. You can increase this number to get a little bit more detail in the shadows, but I found 16 works pretty well, and it's the setting that I use to render out the preview at the beginning of this video. And yeah, that's pretty much it. These are the settings that I used to create that short animation. Unfortunately, if you go under the passes tab here, you won't be able to export a emission pass inside of Eevee, so that's kind of a negative when you want to add glow and glare to the simulation. However, you can add some glow just by adjusting the threshold setting of the glow parameter in your compositor. And you can also, if you want to add some glow with your composite without doing any post-processing, you can go back to the camera tab here and check the bloom checkbox, and as you can see, it's just going to automatically add some glow to the brightest spots of your image, and then you can adjust all of your settings for that bloom effect in the bloom tab here as well. I'm going to go ahead and leave it off because I just like to isolate the flames in the compositor and have a little bit more control frame to frame. The material settings for this domain cube is just the same material settings that we used for our flamethrower video. I just used the KHAOS fire shader with a smoke density of 200, smoke contrast of 6, flames brightness at 6, and flames color of 1. All of these smoke domain settings should transfer over from cycles to Eevee. Of course, it will give a little bit different look, so you might want to adjust it a little bit, but generally they should be the same as far as brightness and contrast and density and all that goes. And of course, you can also change your color ramp and smoke color to whatever colors you want as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope this little quick tip was helpful. Let us know in the comment section below what you'd like to see next, and I'll see you guys next time.